All right, welcome in everyone to the weekly reading. This is for the last week of July, heading into the first week of August. So we are in transition of months. So we're just going to tap into the collective energies and just get any information and guidance as usual that can best help you all. This information is for your best and highest good and to help you on your highest path. So we're going to tap in here. I'm just going to hit, as usual, if you're new, I do hit a little bit on the astrology on the weeklies just to give you some insight, to kind of help back up what you're going through, what you're feeling, I guess to be proactive and seeing, maybe there's energies this week just to be aware of. And so I'll call that out. I'm also have been adding the chakra candles to my readings. I've been kind of tapping in to see what is needed right now and if there's any chakras that specifically we need to light the fire for, to do some healing or clearing. And I just felt drawn to the throat chakra candle. This is around positive energy, and the throat chakra is really the center of communication. So, and we do have Uranus that just moved into Gemini about a week ago. So there is a big focus on communication here, especially around breaking through blocks. Okay, Uranus is like, we have to break through any blocks. We have to innovate how we speak, how we relate. So this will help us draw in new people and wonderful experiences that help us embrace and encourage spiritual growth, especially when it comes to how we connect and communicate and connected to our truth, right? The throat is about our truth, how we express our truth. Are we aligned with our truth? So really felt that energy. So starting off the week here, a couple things I want to call out. So on July 30th, Chiron is retrograde, is going retrograde in Aries, on the 30th. So this is going to be a 5-month journey of, Chiron's a wounded healer, as it's called sometimes, but this is a big time of healing and reflection, especially around our traumas, any heartache that we're still holding on to, any karmic experiences. So this is really asking us to look at kind of how we cope with that. Do we have any protective armor that we've built up to try and protect ourselves that's really blocking you from your deepest desires? Again, you may think armor, like creating this energetic armor or this like image or mask of, hey, don't F with me, right? Whatever area in your life, like that is all just falsities, right? It's a falsity of, hey, I need to protect myself because I got hurt before and I don't trust people. So, but those things, if you're afraid of love, and if you feel like you've put up a lot of blocks of like, hey, and you consciously know like, hey, I'm not going to be fucked with anymore, so I'm going to come off really guarded, that's going to prevent you from actually allowing love in. So you're not going to magnetize or attract people that are going to basically, either you're going to sabotage it or you're going to constantly attract things in your life that mirror the same thing that won't be available. Also, what are your coping mechanisms? What are coping mechanisms are essentially things that you've built in to avoid pain. So it's really getting to the bottom of this in the next 5 months with Chiron. We also have Venus entering Aries this day. Not Aries, I'm sorry, Cancer. So Venus is moving signs. So this is Cancer is big focus on home, family, nurturing energy, love. So we also have Venus, which is love. So there's going to be a big focus on people, places, and things that really align with your heart space, that make you feel safe. It's going to ask you to really ask yourself, what does my heart really desire? And it's not about just like our fantasies. This is about, what is it that I really need, that is reliable, that is real, that is safe, that is healthy, okay? It's not about focusing on things and people we want just because we're in lust, or it's what we think we want. Is this thing gonna bring me healthy energy, harmony? Is it gonna help me be the best version of myself? Is it gonna be safe and reliable? So we have that, and then on the July 31st, we have Mercury in retrograde forming a cazimi with the Sun in Leo. So this is a big one, because this is something very important in your life is going to get major clarity around. So any fogginess or just unclarity in regards to your life or situation is going to be cleared. So this is a huge turning point. And this is opening up a real truth, like a deep truth, and facing the truth and seeing it finally head on. Then on the August 1st, we have the moon in Scorpio squaring the sun in Leo. So this is also, there's a lot of strong energy this week. This is going to demand radical honesty and authenticity at a very deep level. I mean, this is really diving to the depth of the core of again, roots. What is the truth? What is your core belief? Who are you really? And it's going to really force you to stand in that. And you're not going to be able to not be in your truth anymore. And then on August 2nd, the last day of this week, Venus in Cancer is going to square off with Saturn and Neptune, which is retrograde in Aries. So this is another breaking point. So we have towards the end of the week, this weekend's going to be kind of a huge breaking point. That energy, again, is forcing us to face any sort of delusions or fantasies that you're living in. If you're in denial about any situation in your life or person, this is really going to require you to face the truth again with that. So August, I mean, again, I've been doing the monthly zodiac readings, and one of the biggest themes is the Ace of Swords. This radical honesty, this radical truth, this authenticity is going to be, you cannot not be authentic anymore. You also have to face the reality of the truth in regards to situations in your life. You can't be in denial. The truth is going to really reveal itself in very radical, sudden, surprising ways. So as we're moving into August, it's already starting here. So especially around relationships are going to require us moving forward to really put the work in. It needs to be stable with that Saturn energy. There has to be stability. There has to be structure. There has to be a plan. And there has to be parties willing to do and put in the work and to both be on the same page. Because if you're really going to see if someone is not there, and if you're in denial about a relationship and that this person is really in your best and highest good moving forward. So the themes for this week, it's really asking you to say, what do you really want? I mean, what do you really want at the deepest depths of your core? Not just on the surface level what you want. No, what is your heart and your higher self calling for you? What is that yearning? Not just what your conscious mind thinks you want. And our conscious mind really is distorted through our cultures, our society, what our society, our families tell us, what our fears and insecurities are telling us. And we really have to see through the illusions that we've really been living in for a long time, and that's that Neptune retrograde. And then also we need to start tending to the roots. If our deepest unconscious layers are infected, or, you know, if there's healing that needs to happen, it's really, we're going deep, and we need to start working. The only way to heal the surface, right, that our person, our bodies, our experiences, our life, we really need to dive to the root. We can't just heal the surface, because if the roots are rotten or tangled or don't have the nutrients they need, we're never going to be able to change our experience or our physical bodies. So I wanted to hit all that before I started, because I thought it was very important for the week. So let's go ahead and get started. If you're interested in a private reading with me, you can schedule one on my website, which is linked below. All right. First one out, door to romance. So definitely focus on relationships. And this is opening up the lock, right? It's opening up. Our heart was caged in. So of course, when your heart is caged, your relationships aren't going to be deep. We were attracting relationships that weren't really at the level that we probably, our hearts and our needs were really calling for. And that's shifting. The garden and the gate. There's another example of being blocked in, right? Locked into the garden here by this gate. We're not allowing ourselves to go beyond that. And attachments. And that's the reason. It's our insecure attachments. It's our codependencies that have blocked us off. We've put an armor up. We've put an armor. And usually this happens in childhood, right? This girl looks a little childlike. So where do we create this armor? Where do we create these coping mechanisms? Well, it's in childhood. We were in situations, home lives, where something was not safe for us. The dynamics weren't safe. It wasn't safe to be ourselves. It wasn't safe to be emotionally vulnerable. It could have been volatile or abusive, or just that, you know, the thing is, a lot of people are very disillusioned and say, oh, my childhood was good. But if you have unhealthy coping mechanisms or behavior patterns or fears, or again, codependency attachment type of energies or relationships that are unhealthy, the key here is maybe it wasn't what happened to you, right? Like that your environment was abusive or extremely toxic. We also put up armor when we aren't receiving what we need as an individual. And that's emotional, right? We all each have our own very unique emotional needs. And that's going to differ per person. So most of the time, especially in older, you know, when we think of older generations, how did they raise their children? They raised, most of the time, everyone the same, you know, everyone follows these rules. But the thing is, every single person, even though you grow up in the same family, every person's perspective or experience is going to be different. And it's because we're all very unique and individual in who we are, how we relate, what our emotional needs are. So if your emotional needs weren't met exactly how you needed them to be, then you're going to have disharmony in the root. And part of that is you're closing the door because you don't trust love. You don't trust your own needs and desires because they were never met. So then your only way to cope with that was to create coping mechanisms for you to be able to live in that environment. And we do it very unconsciously. You know, usually that process is very, you know, it can be hard to even consciously pinpoint. But we can see here with the attachment card, you know, she's, if you can see the chains, she's chained to things, people, situations, beliefs, viewpoints of relationship that are very, it's almost like we're enslaved. We don't know how to break free of this. So there's this is the focus this week. And it's very deep. It's very deep. Just like I said, all the energies are asking you to go deep. And if you can't roll in the deep, if you're not willing to dive in the deep, well, then you can continue to stay in this energy of feeling stuck, of never really feeling true fulfillment, feeling relationships that really nurture you, nurture your soul as an individual. And it's sad that most people in this world will never be able to feel the depth of love and connection that we are really able to go, or the truest potential we can reach. No one will ever even slightly touch that, which is so sad, because when you feel, if you even have a moment where you feel the truest, highest level of divine love, it's literally indescribable, and it will literally change you for the rest of your life. And most people who are able to feel that, even in a moment, you're never able to go back to a certain way of living. You will never be able to go back to relationships that are toxic, or relationships that just take from you, because you're always going to say, there's no way, I deserve this. And if I can create that love within myself, I'd rather have that than be stuck in a relationship that makes me feel alone. So, it's really asking you to have the courage and the strength to go beyond the gate, which is our comfortability and what we've always known, even since childhood. Usually what we grew up in childhood, even though we consciously don't want that or know it wasn't right, it's ingrained in our nervous system. So that's all we know, and that's what's comfortable to us. So then when we grow up, we end up manifesting and attracting and creating the same sort of energy, dynamics in our relationships, households. Even us, we tend to then create within ourselves those types of personality traits, those triggers, those habits, behavior patterns. And that's why, addictions pass like, it's like a virus. It passes so intensely through the ancestral line, because unless someone really says, I'm going to heal this, I'm going to face this, it will continue. It will continue to pass. And if you're just in denial about it, then you'll pass it to your kids, or you'll continue to have the same patterns. All right. So yeah, underneath the moon, this is like the deepest you can go. This is the unconscious. This is the deep layers of our emotional body. This is going into our fears. And that's what's creating the confusion in our lives. So this is what's blocking us from the cups. On the Seven of Cups really represent all our different dreams and desires. And there's a lot of fog around this, because we don't have clarity on what is my true deepest desires. Well, it's been distorted by the moon, right? The moon is a very, tricky energy, because the moon can distort things, right? Like at night, there's the moon, the darkness, like, is it real? Is it not? Is it really what I'm seeing? And that's what's creating this confusion. And it's also blocking us from these things. I think we've been living like this for a long time. It could have been our whole lives. Maybe feel like we just keep putting time and effort. We're trying to change our lives. We're trying to, create more abundance. We're trying to achieve goals. We're trying to, manifest our soulmates. And it's just feels like, our efforts are just resulting in just nothing, right? Like we keep doing it the same way. That's the other thing. We keep doing things the same way, thinking, why isn't it working for me? Why isn't it working for me? And it's because of all the moon stuff, all this deep stuff, the attachments, the coping mechanisms, the armor that we build up on ourselves. Yeah, and it goes back to childhood. This is all, you know, and look at this guy is looking at the current, this is like the current moment of what he's currently dealing with. But what he doesn't see behind him is all of this ties back to the, you know, his past, his childhood. This could also refer to past lives. You know, sometimes past lives do, a lot of times, you know, part of why we're here is working through past life stuff as well. But now we're getting the clarity. Now we're seeing things. The universe is bringing us new ideas, new ways of seeing things. And we're also gaining passion to finally, you know, we don't want to deal with this anymore. And the passion is what inspires us to take action and to actually do things to help us make a difference in our lives. And this is what's happening here too. This is a fated time. This is like divine timing. It's time for us to move forward, to heal, to integrate, and to change and transform. And look at, that's what brings forth, there's a new door that we can step through. I also feel like this is also a reference to the door. There's been a metaphorical door that's been locked. And I talked about this, I even think, in last week's weekly reading. So go back and check that one out too. But there's like a metaphorical door that's been locked. And we've been too afraid to see what's on the other side of the door. We've kind of been, look at that, even the garden gate. And this is like, we're in this garden. And there's a huge like kind of wall of hedges that has kept us in this one area. And we haven't been able to expand or grow because we're not willing to go through the gate and see what's on the other side. Like, we've always been in this garden. That's where we're comfortable. That's all we know. But we also are frustrated because we want more. We want something different. But the only way to get something different and expand and grow and to change our circumstances is to unlock the door and go through. And I feel like this week is an opportunity to go through this door. But you have to face your fear and you have to face it, but do it anyways. And just see what unfolds. And that's where we have this new beginning. This is where we have physical new manifestations that have been destined for us that we've been too afraid to face. And we're also going to feel a new level of passion in our lives. It's like almost like walking through the door is like a portal. And just being on the other side of the door, the passion and the like realization of, oh my gosh, why didn't I do this years ago? Because you were afraid. I'm not saying that we're gonna, for us to do this, we also have to face some of our deepest fears, which sometimes it's not going to be easy. But the thing we can hold on to is the fear is around the original experience. And even though it can be painful to go through it again, if it's like deep childhood trauma, it's not like we're actually going through it again. It's just that we actually have to allow ourselves to meet that part of us that is stuck in that trauma, that's stuck in that situation that happened 30 years ago, and save that part of us. So essentially, we're saving ourselves. So if you knew if you had a child or have a child, and this child was stuck in a life-threatening situation that was scary or it was hurtful, what would you do? Anything? Even though it's scary for you, wouldn't you still find the courage and strength out of your love to go in and save them from that? It's the same exact metaphor, but you're doing it for your own inner child that's been stuck in that situation. Temperance, you also have support. So that's the other thing. The divine, your angels, your guides want you to know they're here helping you, protecting you, and they're going to help you with the emotional stuff that comes up here, but you have to alchemize it and you have to integrate it. Yeah, this is really around love and relationship. So I do feel like no matter if you're single or have been in relationships that have been difficult or challenging, or if you've been married for 20 years, that it's been an unhappy relationship or whatever, there is this focus of we need to change the dynamic. It's time to recreate and build new connections and relationships that can be love, family, friendships that are based on something that is healing. Because in this Two of Cups, we have the caduceus, which is really the sign that medical establishments use as a symbol, and it is a symbol of healing. And when we come into union, that's completely harmonized, we have two whole beings that are healed. That is healing for the union, and that's the ultimate connection, and that's what we're looking to create. And the Three of Wands, yeah, it's finally coming in. So finally, what the universe wants, what's destined right now with this Wheel of Fortune, is it's time. There's ships coming in with new things, new opportunities. Really, the opportunities to me are experiences with people, healing old relationships, healing and bringing in new relationships that are going to align more with a healthier experience altogether. The High Priestess, yes, this is a very spiritual process here. So when we go to the core, when we go to the root, when we connect with our higher self, our intuition, our higher guidance, I mean, that's how we truly change our lives. I mean, completely transform. I wouldn't be surprised if we didn't see the Death card here, because this is going to be a huge transformative period for everyone. Seven of Swords. No more delusions. No more delusions. And this can be self-delusions. Also, no more relationships that continue to hurt us. But also, what I'm hearing too is we're betraying ourselves. When we stay and choose relationships that are toxic, that are unhealthy, we're betraying ourselves. So if you constantly are feeling like you attract people that betray you all the time, what's the mirror there? What's the reflection of the inner self? Because in some way, shape, or form, which you're not conscious of, you're actually betraying yourself by staying in these situations, or constantly choosing then people that it's like you want to see the good in them. And that's okay to want to see the good in people, but you also have to face the truth that these people are putting out. Like if they're putting out, there's all these red flags, I mean, they're showing you their truth. So if you stay with someone for, a year or even 20 years, and they've constantly hurt you, you constantly feel like they're sucking your soul out of you, you've made that choice to continue to betray yourself. So there's this real aha truth that you're going to start facing and seeing the truth, your own truth, but other people's truths as well. And you can't lie to yourself anymore, right? We talked about this. Well, the clarity is coming to show us the areas of our lives that we were really lying to ourselves or in denial. King of Wands. We have the Three of Pentacles, the Lovers, and Knight of Wands. So we're going to start making new choices for ourselves that are we're building new foundations in relationships. And it's going to be based on seeing the truth, choosing new people that align with the same, that they can help. It's not just you. I feel like a lot of people, you've built the foundation for your relationships. You didn't have another partner who was putting in the same energy, same effort into the relationship. Like, you really built the foundation and all the layers on top of it. But when it's you alone, this isn't a stable structure for the union. It doesn't really work. And really, energetically, this person is just taking advantage of you. It's like working on a project together with someone where, you know, for example, in the card, there's 3 people aligned to this project. You all have to contribute, and it's all, the success is on the 3 of you, but in the end, it's almost like you ended up doing the whole, how do you feel about that? And in the end, what if the recognition really goes to only the other person and you're not even seen for, I mean, that's a difficult situation. And that's kind of the metaphor here. But look at this, new people coming in, new, stronger people coming in that really have the inner transforming. They've already gone through their own transformation, and they can add value in just who they are. And this is what you're bringing in, which I love. I think it's going to happen fast once you face the truth and start taking new action and making decisions. But let's see, what's the Knight of Wands about here? The Fool. Yeah, you're walking away. So this is the old. It's like the old is the Knight of Wands and the new is the King of Wands. So you're really elevating up, especially for you guys that you decide to, you know, if you decide to leave behind relationships right now that have not been serving you at all, you're going to be leveling up big time. So you're going from a knight to a king. You know, the Knight of Wands is a very immature energy. I mean, maybe they contributed some passion to the relationship and that's why you've stayed with them or attracted them. Like there was something charming or attractive about this person, but it's all surface level. Like really, they can't contribute something deep. They can't think outside of themselves. So this is a very selfish energy. This is really like, it's almost like thinking of a, you know, a 20-year-old, like a 20-year-old, which makes sense, you know, is going to think of themselves. Like they're focused on themselves and growing, figuring out who they are. But when you're 40, 50 years old, you know, even 35, it's like we had to go through that, but they never were able to go through that, right? They never figured it out. They never really focused on growing. Because a lot of times we're stuck. We're very stunted in our emotional growth because of, again, the stuff, the really hidden stuff, the traumas, again, going back to the armor and the behaviors and the coping mechanisms. But you're having no issue starting a new path. You're like, I'm not dealing. We're really hitting a point. I've been feeling that a lot from just people I've been connecting with and healing. Yeah, definitely healing these patterns. I love this. I've been hitting this. This has been going on for about, especially this whole year. But like, I really feel this energy. A lot of people are hitting a point where they're just like, I can't tolerate the stuff I used to. Like, I can't tolerate the people that, like, people are cutting out people left and right, or just distancing themselves, or, you know, just realizing, like, you know, I need to do what's right for me. I need to choose me. And I'm not going to let people keep sucking the energy out of me. So what's this Wheel of Fortune, Ace of Pentacles? Yeah, we're moving forward. We're moving on. We're moving into better energy. We're moving into better situations, which I love. So what's the Moon? Yeah, it's been a rough road. This stuff underneath is what's really been causing just the hardships, feeling alone, feeling really beat up by our connections. And what's the Seven of Swords? I think that's kind of clear, but yeah, we're we're moving away from, because this energy of has really, it's been, you know, we've lost a lot personally, emotionally. We've lost a lot emotionally by dealing with this sort of, these people and this energy. We're moving forward. We're moving away from loss and grief and sadness and situations that constantly let us down. And we're moving forward to people who build us up, who support us, who help, you know, who want to contribute towards building a stable foundation and building a life. Yeah, we want the Four of Wands here. We want more abundance. We want stability. We want people that, again, add value, that celebrate us, that bring us happiness and joy. And I think we got to be careful, because this can be, this Five of Swords to me can be a little bit self-sabotaging behavior patterns too. So it's not just always everyone else around us. I think we need to make sure we're not also getting in that victim mentality of it's everyone else and not me. This is just a reflection of the inner you. So I think if you've been dealing with people like this, I think there's also the self-reflection of, what are my contributions to this? Why do I engage in this? Why do I stay in this? Because a lot of people, sometimes when, if you think of like a relationship example of when you have someone who does everything in the relationship, in life, they handle the kids, the house, everything. And a lot of times what you're not facing is you have a control issue too. But yet you'll still be resentful and angry that your partner isn't helping. But what if, could you relinquish control and have them handle it the way they want to handle it? You might say, no, I don't trust them. But that's your own self-sabotaging. That's your own mindset. That's your own control. But what you're really doing is you're taking the power away from your partner. And you could be doing this in a lot of areas of your life, your kids, with your friends, your family. The only way we can also help other people rise to the occasion is to give them the empowerment and the confidence to level themselves up. So, you know, there's a lot of things here around relationship that's really coming up this week. So I think there's going to be a lot, potentially triggers. But the reason these are happening or kind of blowing up is because it's forcing you to really look deep and to really reflect. And that's the key here. All right, everyone. Well, thanks for joining in. I think there's a lot there to kind of digest, to think about. And definitely you'll be doing it all week and probably into August, because this seems to be a deep theme for the rest of the month. But I appreciate you being here and listening and taking in the information and supporting me in the channel. So don't forget to let me know how you're doing in the comments, and like and subscribe, which always helps. But yeah, I will see you in the next reading. Bye for now.